Warning! The following gameplay video was created by a scrub. If scrub gameplay disturbs you, stop the video now. Hello! Welcome back, and thank you for your continued viewing of this series. As you've probably worked out, Cansado has gotten attacked a fair bit more than I expected. Well, that was due to me misreading the enemy movement ranges, and I have no one to blame but myself for that. Happens to me a lot in other games, too. So, take that as a warning, everyone. Learn to read. That having been said, my solution for this is very simple, although perhaps slightly counterintuitive. The best solution to survive is to walk into the arms of the brawling machine. The game mechanics are weird sometimes. Also, remember how I was disappointed that I wasn't able to lay down 2 mines and stop its legs completely? If I had actually done that, then that anti-AFW would not have been able to throw out close combat, and it would fire instead, drawing out the combat, meaning that there would be a high chance that Cansado would die right there. I don't even know what to say about that, except you really don't know how these things are going to pan out ahead of time. Or at least, I sure don't. So, plan here. How exactly do I deal with all this stuff? Jun could finish that medium AFW for sure. Except, it's not that much of a threat since it doesn't have any squads and it's at pretty low health anyway. So I feel it's more urgent to remove troops for a slightly more fresh enemy. And if you can guess how this can go badly, congratulations, you're more attentive than I was when I made this decision. Mostly I was debating with myself on whether to try and finish them off here or go for their squads. But when the enemy's squads are active, and especially when they have stuff like cooperation, I feel like going straight for the kill might be a bad idea. Now, this particular move on the map was not the biggest mistake I made on this particular turn. You're gonna see that quite soon. So, my recon squad has Illumination Shot. Let's try out the aim weapon before that increase in accuracy kicks in. What I was thinking was, the sooner I get off aim weapon, the better. Which is true, but it has to actually work for that to be a factor. So instead of shooting the dangerous enemy squad with cooperation, I got that instead. Well, now what? I'll tell you what now. First of all, I pull back the recon because they are definitely not up to taking a co-op shot. Well, that, and it's a good idea to charge up an illumination for them anyway. Gotta have 2 per map. Or, per map, right. That would be bad. Gotta have 2 per battle. I did have an inkling of how dangerous the situation was, which is why I was okay with using a second max attack in this battle. just for self-preservation. Just, like that's a trivial thing. Oh, that... Okay, that really annoyed me, though. It didn't even show what kind of obstacle was in the way. That's one of the few strictly game mechanic problems I have with this. There's no way to check on whether or not there's something that could get in the way of your shot. Also, wow, they were able to create a lot of distance in a pretty short time. Alright. Now, considering that more battles are coming, it seems like an exceptionally bad idea to take another co-op. However, I felt that it was worth risking just a little bit to get the illumination shot and gunshot off first. Wow. Not a second too soon. So I'm definitely not going to remove both squads. It's not a thing that's going to happen. And I seriously expected them to move their infantry back, but I think they didn't because their co-op was still charged and they're inclined to keep that sort of thing forward if they think they can fire it off. So the battle wasn't all bad for me. Any battle where I remove a cooperation squad can be considered a reasonable step forward. So, this was the second part of the plan, which I had sort of worked on during Jun's move. Which is, even if I only have anti-squad squads, I should be fine here. I have illumination shot. I only really need to land maybe one shell and then close in for a punch. And that's the other side to me not always knowing what to do with Ryoko, which is she can fairly easily step into situations even when her squads are not really designed for that. That being said, there are limits. If this enemy had 300 health, I would definitely not try something like this. I've said this before, but it always feels really good when I can time attack and attack well and throw off the enemy's aim. I think that's one of the more satisfying things to do in this game. And here we go. Wow, her normal punch is better than I remember it. I mean, granted, that model of medium AFW doesn't have quite as much armor as the iron bricks I've been facing earlier, but still. Medium AFWs are pretty well protected. Now, regardless of whether or not I recover in place, they're going to have plenty of turns to attack me if Cansado stays still. So I'm trying to guess how many of them will be able to reach him if he moves and then recovers. Because obviously if moving doesn't make a difference, then, well, actually in that case I'm pretty likely to lose entirely, but the good news is they're in mountains and it's snowing. So there's a pretty good chance that at least a couple of them won't be able to reach him. And if they all try, they're gonna get in each other's way. For this situation, we don't care about anything that's... Well, actually we do, because the light AFW is beyond scouting range. It's fairly likely to move soon. That's a detail that isn't really spelled out, but it's easy to see, which is, I believe scouting range is reduced in bad weather like this. Granted, it's really short at night regardless. So, do I want Emilio to stay here and finish off that enemy? Well, in this case, I'm more just figuring out future moves because I don't really see a reason not to attack here. The only problem is that it does make Jun a bit more open because it gives the light AFW space to move forward, and since it has a recon, I'm pretty sure it can attack at a diagonal. On the other hand, the fewer things that can pursue Cansado, the better. So 300 is a lot to chew on, however, we've seen the effectiveness of double mechanics at short range. And the enemy is definitely not going to back off. The only trick is prevent a punching battle earlier than necessary. That's also unlikely though, because their legs are on fire. Normally I'd be concerned about something like that. However, two of the remaining three enemies are things that are highly vulnerable to his punching attacks and would not be able to get a shot off on him. Also, they're definitely going to have trouble hitting me at nighttime and without illumination shot. Hey, why was there only one hit there? Also, I'm fairly sure that the enemy is purposefully backing off because it's not my squads that are doing it. I wasn't shooting them that much. But I guess it's nothing to worry about. Well, I guess that's also not the point. The point is to kind of learn more about AI behaviors. Well, it seems that freeing up space was a moot point because, for very understandable reasons, they moved to diagonal to attack. Optimal range strats. And it also means that 3 enemies can easily pile up on Jun, and he's already not looking so great. I will freely admit that I was getting greedy here. I could have moved out to long range and there's not much they could have done about it. Especially in snow, it's very unlikely that they'd be able to hit me very hard. That was, okay, I'll admit it freely, that was pretty disappointing. If you thought my infantry squad was in bad shape before, well, yeesh. Well, since they aimed themselves at my squads, well, actually it doesn't even matter. Here I was thinking to myself that the adhesive mines wouldn't do anything, but actually, it worked pretty well. That's right, I took myself off guard by my own strategy. Yeah. But I guess it turned out to be not such a greedy move after all. Well, okay, it still was, but it was a greedy move that paid off, which is the only thing that matters, I guess. So the main reason I decided to play with my squads here is that the enemy didn't have any strong skills associated, but... or at least, I think that's what it was. Oh wow. Okay, note to self. Even if you think you know how you did a particular piece of gameplay, rewatch the video beforehand, because you do not know yourself nearly as well as you think. Anyway, backing off from a short-range battle is not always unfeasible depending on what the matchup is. Like, these guys are in a light AFW using heat shells. In fact, I'm kind of glad they used their heat shell there, which is not something I say often. Yeah, that's the idea. I think it's pretty weird that smoke shots send the target reeling like that, but it was pretty useful there. I feel the same way about flash shot too. Right, now we can finally bring a fresh AFW into the battle, and, well, here's one of those things that I do not understand. I know that rivers block the ability to attack diagonally sometimes, but in this case there's two ways to attack diagonally, and only one of them is blocked. I seriously do not understand. And if you take a look at my attack range when I go up there, not all of the diagonals in the mountains are blocked. In fact, just the one to the upper right. The other two are fine. I just do not understand attack ranges sometimes, even though it should be a fairly simple thing. Alright, these are... this includes medics with smoke shots, which really means I should break out the ink strap for this. So, note to self, look at past mistakes. And Illumination Shot does have its charm for this sort of thing. I can get off that shot when I'm still at close range, and a normal anti-soldier shot would just be a machine gun thing, which is not so great. So anytime you deal with smoke shot, you're kind of depending on the troops that you bring with you to cause damage to the enemy squads. Unfortunately, they're shooting at enemy medics, which means that's gonna be slow going. I kind of wonder if maybe anti-infantry damage should be affected by accuracy a little bit more. And I say this even though I would definitely not benefit from that change in situations like this. Not related. Video commentary. I find it to be pretty difficult even when I'm looking at something I've pre-recorded. It makes me stop in the middle of my sentences a lot, for one. And that's because I feel like I have no time to waste. I have to say what comes to mind immediately. Which means it doesn't sound that great sometimes. What? Why did that one not hit? I mean, if there was some random chance for shells to not hit enemy infantry, I'd love to know about that. Anyway, we're getting towards the end of the video. We'll see how the rest of it works out next time. See you then.